Hey everyone, this is Pasquale.
And this is Dr. Traci.
We are here to talk today about a sensitive topic. And so we're just going to start with that and also state that remember that when you are hearing anything, it's all based on your truth, right? And you can accept truths and believe in truths based on who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Buddha always said, like, take what you feel connects with you, and what doesn't, let it go. And so our topic today is very much about our truth and our understanding of the topic.
Of death and dying, the process of dying. And so in that, we're pretty spiritually aligned in our belief system. And as we talk today, we'll be kind of sharing some of our beliefs, but that doesn't have to be your belief. And we respect everybody's beliefs. So if that's not something you believe, like he's saying, or the Buddha said, just let that go. And because there is going to be also some tools and things that can help you through the process. If somebody you love is dying, or if they've already passed. And so there's things that'll still be useful for you, even if you don't necessarily have the same belief system.
Very well said. So with that.
So one thing I wanted to start with is, it's so crazy to me from a psychological perspective that, death is the only guarantee in life. And, except for taxes, of course. But but yet our brain cannot fathom it. We can't process it. It's very and all we do is fight it.
Avoid it.
Right.
Avoid it.
Right.
It's not real.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to happen to me. Yeah.
In some ways, it's true. It's not real.
Well, that is true.
But it is going to happen.
You want to explain what you mean by that?
But death is part of life. It's part of that circle of life, right? And in that circle of life, death isn't the end. Some would say it's the beginning.
Right.
And so it's not that it's going to happen.
It's the death of our physical body.
Correct.
Like if we think of our physical body as just like the, what do you call it? Like the mechanism, the
shell.
The shell. And we're just kind of shedding that, but our soul lives on. So, again, this goes back to spiritual beliefs, but, if, it can help, it can be very helpful to choose to believe that, our spirit, there is no death. Death does not exist.
One of the things that I always remind myself whenever death occurs around me is always remember, death is what gives life meaning. Right? Without it, there is no meaning to your life.
That's a good point.
Right? And I think one of the things that kind of drives me sometimes a little batty is the fact that when you start talking about it, people really get uncomfortable. Mind you, when we are, preparing to go to college, we're taking all these exams and studying and learning. Mm-hmm. When we're having a baby, we are reading all the books and getting all the advice on how to have a baby.
Right.
Right? Again, another natural thing, but we're getting all the advice. But when it comes to death, it's we don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the most important things to talk about. It's not.
Because it's going to happen to all of us.
Yes.
Well, not only that, we're all going to experience that. Every single person on the planet is going to experience that.
And no one else is going to experience it for you.
Right.
So it's good to start to kind of learn about it and learn what your beliefs are.
Yeah.
And learn where you kind of stand. Because if you know and feel comfortable with what you believe might be the next step, right? Whether that's nothing to, reincarnation, there's a spectrum, right?
Right.
But if you're comfortable with that, then how to address it when it starts to occur around you.
Right. And that's when, not if, it starts to occur. Yeah. So it's going to happen. So, and it's true because we don't even like to say the words death or dying. That's why people use the term, the words pass, because they don't want to say
Or
the
cross.
word or cross over. I mean, I use those terms because I actually believe that that's what's happening,
Totally.
and not in avoidance. But I think most people use it as to avoid the actual word
Yes.
of dying or death
Yes.
or died. They died.
But it's so natural.
Right.
It's like a natural, and look around you.
And
All of nature is dying
yeah,
around us every day.
yeah, that's true. And but it's being replenished, and there's a purpose to it.
Yes.
And so I think we lose that. We're just so focused on what's lost and not what's gained.
Yes.
But sorry, I lost my train of thought.
So I think some of it, she's had a long day. She's wearing her Irish shirt today. It's almost that time of year.
Yes.
But I think part of what we want to talk about is how you can kind of prepare yourself for the crossing or the dying of someone that you love.
Yes.
Or let alone you.
What I was going to say, yes, definitely. What I was going to say is we don't have to necessarily welcome it, but the goal is we don't want to be afraid of it, right? So that would be our goal in just
Fear is a mind killer.
Talking about it today, because we can't afford to. It's going to happen. And, that doesn't equate well to a fulfilling life, like living life, because as long as we're scared of death, that's just going to end up paralyzing us, and now we're just surviving, and now instead of actually living and embracing the time we do have here.
Yeah. And really experiencing life.
Right.
Because when you think about it,
if you're scared of death, you're going to completely limit yourself and limit those around you.
And you're going to slowly start cutting off that part of your life. And the reality is that we're here to experience life. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And sometimes the ugly is death.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But experience it. Claim it.
So I will share with you, my father recently passed. And so Pasquale helped me tremendously. We were fortunate enough to know that it was happening. I say fortunate enough because I believe that when we know it's happening, we can prepare better. And
or you have
which
an
was really,
opportunity to
you
prepare.
have, right, exactly. Whereas opposed, if it's something, unexpected, very quick, then that's obviously we don't have that opportunity. So I consider it a blessing. And so, but Pasquale helped me tremendously with the process, which is what inspired us to do this episode today. So do you want to talk about
And
just
we are
things?
sorry. We know that that's a tough, it's always tough. I think even when you've accepted, I've accepted the concept of dying and moving and crossing.
I have to.
And even when you go through that, it's still difficult. Just because you are comfortable with it doesn't mean you don't feel.
Right. And that's a really good point, because although you have, even if you have your spiritual religious beliefs and believe the things that we were just talking about, that can certainly help you through the process. But after the person passes, you're still going to have to go through the grieving process, and that's okay, because we're still mourning the physical loss of that person being in our lives, and that's okay. So just because we have that spiritual beliefs, that doesn't negate that process, but it should help it along a little bit easier.
Well, it makes kind of traversing it a little bit.
Traversing. I'm gonna.
My Moira Rose today is coming out. We're traversing. But it's just because it's a process, and it just kind of changes the process if you know what, and you have comfort in it.
Yeah, I agree. So do you want to share a little bit about some things from a spiritual perspective of if we do have that gift to know that they're
sure. I mean,
they are about to pass?
So my number one thing is the moment you find out or are told that someone is reaching the end, right, and they're preparing themselves to cross. I think the first and most important thing, in my opinion, is don't tiptoe around it.
Yes.
Just celebrate it, right?
Talk
be
about
proud
it
of their
openly.
life. Yeah, talk about it openly.
Yeah.
Be present. You know,
It helps. It's almost, from a
100%.
psychological perspective, it helps almost like desensitize us to it the more we talk about it too. And that's one of the biggest things, is because people are so uncomfortable with it that they don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of like acknowledge the elephant in the room, you know?
You know, and it's a truth though, right? Like I had a friend who crossed years ago, and when she was crossing, one of the hardest things for her was that no one wanted to talk about it, and she knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But no one wanted to talk
Right.
about it, and I was like, you know what? Let's talk about it.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and because I would rather talk through what my beliefs are, what your beliefs are,
Yep.
and kind of just get it. At least
Yeah.
you're comfortable.
So let's talk about what that looks like from a concrete perspective, like some of the things that you can
Perspective.
We can talk about, you know, you can ask them like, how are they feeling? Are they scared to die? Are they scared to death? You know, what do you believe will happen? I always ask, who's the first person, you know, even regardless of what their belief system is, you know, you could even say like, hey, even though, you know, let's just say it's true, you know, who would be, you know, the people that you would be most excited to see? And that always, their eyes always light up, you know, because of just the possibility. And then it reshifts the focus on, as opposed to what they're going to lose and leave behind, what they're actually regaining.
Yes.
Of people that they've already lost, that they're going to be reunited with.
Yeah.
And it's a total, you can see the shift in their eyes, you know, and it's pretty powerful. So I love that question.
Love that. And the other thing is, what are you going to do when you see them?
Right.
Because it's not like you're not going to do something. You know what I mean? I know what I'm going to do when I see those people on the other side. And some of it's going to be a hey, and, you know, some of it's going to be a and some of it's going to be like, you know, let's go dance. Let's just go do something fun. You know, like, where are we going?
Fly around the universe.
But, you know, I mean, like,
Right.
Let's do something fun. Let's go haunt someone. You know, like I would totally talk that through.
Yeah, that's
Because,
funny.
like, it's true, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's what I said to my friend. I'm like, you know, when you're over there, just remember, you want to come haunt. I'm happy for you to do that.
So I've even asked, I love it. Thank you for bringing that up. Because I've even said, like, what would be a message that you would want to give me? Like, would it be like lights? Would you leave? Would you try to like move? And I would say, just don't like move, like hide things on me, you know, but like, I'm open to messages. And we kind of just start laughing, you know, and it lightens the intensity level. And, you know, just say like, what type of things should I look out for? You know, whether it's like the hummingbird or the butterfly or the, you know, whatever it might be. You know? And or like a bell or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll also tell them too, like, I'm, you know, visit me in my dreams. We did a dream episode about this, if you want to look back on that. But we both believe that that when you dream of somebody who's crossed over, that they are actually visiting us in our dreams, and that is real. And so I will tell them, and you actually reminded me of this too with my dad, is, you know, tell them like, I am open. What was the statement? Like, I will always be open to you coming to visit me.
Yeah.
Is that what it?
Yeah. I mean, essentially,
you know?
right? It's I'm always there, and
Right.
I'm open to hear from you, to speak to you, to be a part of your
to
life.
get messages and to just anything that you can
100%.
share with, you know, do to really make it known that you're here, you're with me still, would be awesome.
And they love that, you know. I mean, in truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like, just to put a little caveat, a little feather there, don't make it the topic every time you see them.
Well,
right?
correct.
Break it, talk about it, move on, and start
Yeah.
talking about life.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can even start before you even go there. You could say like, "Is this something you want to talk about?"
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because
some people might say no. You know,
and that's a
and that's
respectful
okay,
thing.
and you respect that. You know, you don't have to convince them to talk about it, but I think a lot of people do, at least for a little bit.
Yeah,
You know?
I personally would love that conversation.
Well, me too, because if you think about it from their perspective, what happens is if they start talking about it, then we as the loved ones start getting emotional, and then they have to shut down. So now they're taking care of us, and it should be the other way around.
Yeah.
You know, we need to try to be strong enough, at least in the moment, for them to be able to talk through it, and even to be able to cry with them and share with them how you're feeling. And I always say, when we are blessed enough to have that notice, that is your opportunity. That is your opportunity to address anything with them. Tell them exactly how you feel, what you appreciate. And that's not only good. I mean, if there's bad things that are in the relationship and you need closure for that, or, talk about it on whatever level you're comfortable and ready for, of course.
Yeah.
But that is such a unique opportunity that I think, it is. It's just such a blessing.
And I will say, I agree with that 100%, because I think sometimes it's human nature, right? Human nature is, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to carry something and hold it against you. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to hold it, and I might pretend everything is okay, but I'm still going to hold it.
Right.
This is a great opportunity to say to them, hey, I know that I'm holding this, but what I want to do is I want to release it. And I don't want to carry that for us anymore.
Right.
And I'm going to forgive that moment. I'm going to forgive those thoughts and just kind of allow that to kind of guide you through it, right?
Yeah. And I think too, and you can tell me if this is true from a spiritual perspective also, if there is actual a change. But what I found is people who are in that process of dying, their mindset begins to shift too, in terms of they're holding on a lot less. They're going to be more open to those conversations that maybe they couldn't have, years ago, where they would just get defensive or, blame or whatever it might be. I think people there's a shift that happens, because I know that when they cross over, our belief is that, there's all anger and whatever, all the negative, those human emotions, right, go away. And it's just pure openness, heart-spaced.
Yeah.
But I believe that begins to happen when in the dying process.
I would agree. I think reflection is a good word to use in this, in that you start to, when you recognize that you're approaching that point in your life, reflection, I think, is a really big thing.
Yeah.
And you start to reflect on your life. You start to reflect on the relationships you have and the relationships you did have, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think some of those questions,
and you go through the regret and,
yeah,
and the remorse.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they don't necessarily want to bring it up. You know what I mean? So it's.
But you need to help them, right? And I think and I'm gonna come back to the regret and remorse thing, because I have a whole thing about that I really love for myself. But I think when it comes to that, it's that perspective on that, what you hold on to, right? That perspective, once they cross, what they start to do is they look at it from that pure standpoint, right? Where all of that is gone, and they go, man, I wish I did that better, right? And so how great would it be to help them address that even before they cross,
right?
So they don't have to waste that moment.
And it helps both you and them kind of clean house and clean that soul.
Just clear the air, clear the energy between you guys, right?
And I do want to say real quick, the part of that process too is make sure when you do bring it up to them, if you do address anything intense or negative or harsh, painful with them, try your best to come from a place of love with it. And to do that means that you may need to process through your own painful emotions first, independently, before you bring it to them.
Good point.
You know what I mean? So, and you can, one of my favorite things is journaling, or actually my favorite therapy homework assignment is writing a letter. And it's a therapy letter, which would never go to the person, but you would actually write it and put it you're writing them a letter, because it kind of tricks us in our mind to think that it's really going to them. But then you want to really let it out, all the pain, as harsh and as blatant, blunt, whatever, as you can possibly be, so that you can begin to release the real intense emotions. And then after we process through that, we're able to really come come from a more sincere place when we're addressing it with them, and they don't get the whole brunt of all of our pain.
I totally agree with that, because I think that when you're in that position, it should only come from a place of love.
Yeah.
And so if you're detecting that there's still some anger or, any of that other emotion in there.
It doesn't have to be all cleared, but get it like pretty low where you can have the conversation without
feeling
lashing.
Yeah, I think approaching it from a place of love is really
Yeah.
that's the direction I would look at when I'm trying to clear something.
Mm-hmm.
But also the regret piece. If someone brings up regret, try to, on your next visit or even on that visit, if there's a way where you can make that regret go away. Mm-hmm. If their regret was, God, I wish I was in a hot air balloon, right? Okay, well, we might not be able to do that because of the circumstance, right? Mm-hmm. But what you can do is you could put it on a TV, project it, and make it seem like they're in a hot air balloon, right? Just to kind of live through that and allow them to move past the regret,
Yeah.
Just because you want to help is how I always look at it, and the more that you help, the better the transition is.
I think I would say, you know what, when you're on the other side, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Make your bucket list now,
I 100% agree.
And I would say, you know what, next time when I see a hot air balloon, I'm going to know. I'm going to know it's you.
And that could be your special little thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that.
Kind of like turning these conversations into, just something very beautiful. And I have to say, with, one of the things, I said with my nan and with my dad is kind of I wasn't there to see you born, but I had the privilege of being there when you cross.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And these are happy tears.
Yeah.
And it was it's so beautiful because I know that I was there to help comfort them and help them with such a scary process.
Yeah, and being there, from a place of love, you were with your dad, it tremendously helped him.
And it helped me heal. It helped me grieve because I could say that I helped him with that process. I was there, and helped him with the worst parts. And I'm very blessed and honored to have been part of that journey.
I totally agree with that. I think that any time that you can be there, it's always a good thing. And I know, again, it's scary.
It is.
Right? It's not something that people look forward to. I certainly don't look forward to it in any way.
Yeah.
But I also know that when I need to, I will.
Yeah.
And I will always be there for someone who says, I'm dying and I really could use some company. I will be there.
Yeah.
Because you know what? It's a lonely process. Think about it. Mm-hmm. No one can die for you. No one can. It's the only thing you do alone. Birth and death. And in birth, you have a lot of people there right when you're born. It's the same thing with death.
Yeah.
You're not going through it alone once you cross.
Yeah.
But the moment of, it's a little lonely. So anytime you can offer help, I would be there. Mm-hmm. I will say this, me being kind of the person I am, I have written a letter to my kids and it's in my phone and they both know about it, right? But it's in this letter, it's titled "To Be Opened Upon My Death," mm-hmm. right? And in the letter, I make light of it, right? Where I say okay, I'm dead. I'm sure you know this right now. I'm giving the gist of what it is.
Right.
But it's I actually talk to them about it from my perspective, going, I want you to know I'm good.
Yeah.
I want you to know that I'm probably watching you right now. Mm-hmm. And I want you to know that feeling you have on your
Put down the candy bar.
That's me. yeah. But I go through it in a way where they get to recognize that I'm dead, but my humor of life is still there, and I'm encouraging them to live life and do their things. And I end it with, and by the way, that quarter I moved that, and I will be haunting you and your kids. Love, Dad.
Aww.
And I do
talk
that
openly with my whole family about it.
It's so important.
Yeah.
You know, and to have a little bit of humor behind it,
Yeah.
right? Because, you know, it's also tough on the other side, right? So now,
Yeah.
kind of switching the perspective a little bit,
Right.
you know, the person who is visiting the dying person is also going to experience their own difficulties. And
Right.
so I think anytime you can have some humor,
Mm-hmm.
right? Humor always brings out love.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I agree. And it just helps with the emotional intensity.
Yeah.
And, you know, because it's like what you either, your choices are you laugh or you cry and scream, you know. So
and they're all good.
I always choose laughter.
But I would rather laugh than scream.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
you know, will I scream? Probably. You know, I'm sure there'll be moments where I'll scream and cry and
Scream like a girl.
Oh, you know I will. I am going to scream like a character on Modern Family, just guaranteed. Everyone says it. It's the truth. I am that person.
Oh my God.
But like, let's flash forward a little bit. So now the person is there,
Mm-hmm.
and they're really preparing to cross. They're
Yeah.
not really as engaging with you, right?
Mhm.
What are some things you can do, right?
Okay.
Because I think it's an important little thing, and I think talking to them,
Mhm.
letting them know that you're safe and that you will always love them,
Mhm.
telling them that you're okay with them moving forward.
Yeah. And telling them, like, I had to tell my dad, you know, like, we're going to be okay. Because I think they hold on for us.
100%.
You know, and it's like, look, I promise you, I will help, you know, take care of, you know,
Whomever.
mom, my sister, you know, everybody. And so I think that provided him with a lot of comfort.
Yeah, I mean, remember, it's one of the things that we do as humans is we do take care of people,
Mhm.
right? It's the first thing we're told to do, not
Right.
take care of ourselves, but make sure everyone else is okay.
Yeah.
And so reassuring them
Mhm.
that everyone's going to be okay because you're going to help.
Right.
You know, in one of the crossings I had with a really good friend of mine, you know, everyone had come to terms with it, even my friend, but her mom was having a hard time because she was single, she wasn't married, she was recently divorced, and you know, mom was like, well, I don't want to leave you because I don't want you to not have anyone, right? And it's like, let her know the truth. I'm going to have someone. Because from the other side, you're going to help find someone for me.
There you go.
You know,
Yeah.
like, hey, bring the right person to me. Or,
Right.
you know, I have friends, I have family, I have you, right? I'm not going to stop. But I think talking about it with them and helping encourage them in knowing that everything is going to be okay really does help.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Any type of energetic, spiritual things that we can do to help somebody in terms of like just maybe you know, meditation or music for them, or like even just visualizations?
You know, I think you have to consider the person, right? So if they come from a religion, obviously contact the religious organization, and participate in it, even if you don't, you know, aren't necessarily a follower, right? Like, so like my entire family is Catholic, and I'm a recovering Catholic, but if I'm there, I'm not going to not participate in the Catholic ceremony. Don't make fun of me.
I love that. That's funny.
But
Okay.
but it's
Yeah,
true, right? Like
right.
I think that's some of it. I think meditation is always good. Breathing. I think
Mhm.
anything that is calming
Mhm.
is always good. You know, anything that you can do to just kind of let the spirit know that they're comfortable, right?
Mhm.
Like kind of in that zone will always help.
I even asked my dad, like, have you seen it? Have you seen a light? You know, and my dad's so funny. He was just like, you know, kind of, we were joking around and making fun of it. And he was like, looking up going, you mean that light? You know, and he's like looking like he's like all dazed and confused. And he's like, lead me to the light. And he's like, just like laughing, you know, and it was a funny conversation, but like,
Totally.
you know, he knew like there was seriousness behind it too. You know, I was like, have you seen a light? I'm like, Dad, like, no, seriously though, when you do see it, just like, you have to like embrace it. Like that's them, like they're ready for you, like, and you have to just like go towards the light, like don't fight it, you know, there's nothing to fight, like you've done your, you know, I would say like you've done your job, you know, like you've lived your life, like you're ready, it's time,
Yeah.
you know.
I think going into the light is always like a safe.
Yeah.
I will always say my favorite tips are depending, like most of the time they're laying, right?
Mhm.
And they're usually like, because we always like to prop people up a little bit.
Mhm.
They're propped up, so like don't ever stand in the line of sight.
Right.
I always find that that's, you know, line of sight where they're going to see the light, right? So just don't stand in front of it so that they can actually welcome and see things come forward is always helpful.
Yeah.
So we stand at the side.
Mhm.
I find that like doctors typically always move to the side of the bed, never really in front
Yeah,
of the
that's
bed.
true. Yeah.
And it's just because they know like you don't want to be in line of sight. And again, if they're on their side and they're looking, obviously not in front of their line of sight, right? Because that always helps them kind of cross. I think
Mhm.
encouraging, I think just encouraging, like, you know, if
Letting
photos,
them know it's
photos
okay.
is a great
Oh,
thing.
big thing. I would always say, I said to my nan and my dad, I said, like, it's okay to let go.
Yeah,
Please let
encouraging
go.
it, I
Yeah.
think is good. But if they're in a point where you're not sure, photos.
Mhm.
Photos of people that they would want to see.
Oh yeah.
Mom, dad,
Mhm.
grandma, grandpa.
Yeah.
You know, like those are always good ones because, and you can see kind of reactions,
Mhm.
right? So like I had someone else that was crossing and we brought photos, and the minute she saw like her mom, not so much, but her brother, she just had this smile on her face,
Oh,
and I mean she wasn't really speaking, so she wasn't coherent completely.
Mhm.
But the minute she saw her brother, she was smiling,
Mhm.
and you recognize that that's who she was seeing,
Right.
right? Like that's who's going to come 1st,
Mhm.
or like begin to help her on her journey.
Yeah.
So like that helps. Photos are a great way to help.
Mhm.
Talking about memories.
Yeah.
I think all of these little tips
Mhm.
help everyone through the crossing.
Right. And I even like sent out a message to all of his friends and stuff to if they wanted to record a little message for him, and then I showed him the recordings when I was there.
So that's
'Cause
amazing.
it also helps them be able to say goodbye.
Yes.
You know, and then I told him, like, and then I sent, well, my dad had like the best reaction. He was just like, oh my God. Oh, he was just so, he just felt so like loved and appreciated. And I, you know, obviously that really helped. And then I sent back texts like saying like, oh my gosh, my dad was like laughing, or my dad, like, he just lit up, or whatever, you know, whatever his reaction is, and just thank them. And I think that helped them with the
Immensely.
grieving process also.
Immensely.
Yeah.
But I think what it comes down to it is don't tiptoe around it, right?
Exactly.
It's going to happen, and I think just being present and visible
Right.
helps.
I agree.
So with that, until next time,
Thank you. Bye.
be well.